Welcome back to another video from East Coast Fibreglass Supplies. Today we're going to show you how to mould awkward corners when moulding by hand using chopped strand matting and polyester resin. We'll demonstrate some of the most common methods used. Chopped strand matting is made up of individual 1-inch strands all bound together randomly. You'll notice here that an individual strand will try to straighten up again even when we try to crimp it. So imagine trying to tuck this fibre into a corner with hundreds of these individual fibres springing back up. This is what causes air voids between a gel coat and a fiberglass laminate. If there's no direct contact between the fiberglass and the gel coat when the panel's cured, you'll end up with a corner or an area that will be as weak as an eggshell, and this will break away or blister, revealing a void between the gel coat and fiberglass in your final part. When designing a part in fiberglass, it's always best to avoid the need for sharp corners in your design, as moulding these corners is going to be very difficult and a time-consuming task which will add to the cost of production. For these demonstrations, however, we're going to take it to the most extreme scenario and mould a very sharp corner using a piece of aluminium angle as our mould. We wouldn't advise having a design with this kind of sharp corner in your mould due to the fact that they can easily chip, etc. But this will perfectly demonstrate the possibility of tackling even the trickiest corners with the following methods. We'll also discuss the possible disadvantages, if any, of each method as we go along. For our first sample, we'll be using 6mm loose strands. After resin is applied to the cured gel coat, we sprinkle these strands into the corner and dab more resin onto them to wet out the fibres. We keep adding until we've created a large radius in the corner. Then we apply our matting over the top and complete our laminate, consolidating the resin and matting and follow on with a radius roller into the corner. This method tends to be the most professional, as it ensures direct contact of glass fibre against the gel coat. We see no blisters in our cured sample, and even after tapping with a sharp tool for inspection, there are no weak areas or voids found. For our second sample, we're using surface tissue into the corner. This method is often practiced by fiberglass laminators. The tissue is a very fine form of fiberglass and lays into the corner without any problems. We then follow on with the chopped strand matting and consolidate as usual. However, it is worth noting that tissue has no strength compared to chopped strand matting. In fact, if we take a sample of tissue that's been laid up with resin, it can be easily damaged and actually torn like paper. Our sample looks great when first removed from the mould, but if we cut through the panel, you can see this void between the tissue and fiberglass matting. Most panels look fine when demoulded using this method, but the issues tend to appear later. This corner will easily break away if the panel receives any impact, Also, when exposed to outdoor environments, especially warm temperatures, it will blister as the air or styrene gases between the layers start to expand in the heat. Here we've demonstrated this effect on a test panel left out in the sun. For our third sample, we're simply filling the corner with another thick layer of Gelcoat, leaving this to cure and then applying our fiberglass. This works well, but the Gelcoat has no real strength to it and will chip very easily upon impact. Also, if the panel flexes, cracks will appear and bits of solid Gelcoat will break off, as this area will be solid and have no flexibility. For this sample, we're simply going to cut the chopped strand mat perfectly straight and fit this straight edge directly into the corner. However, this join will be a weak area, so we'll definitely have to add another layer of fiberglass over the join. We'll also have to be very careful not to push or pack the edge too hard into the corner, otherwise we'll cause the matting strands to kink outward, and that will create voids on either side of the corner. This is a method that can work, but it's very time consuming and, as demonstrated here, not always successful at eliminating air voids. Similar to applying our 6mm loose strands on our first sample, we're applying glass strands again. But instead of small 6mm strands, these are lengths of continuous strand which are running the full length of our corner. This method will also ensure direct contact of fiberglass to our Gelcoat. Once our fiberglass layers have been applied and our sample is cured and removed from the mould, we can see that this has worked quite well. We've got no air voids and the corner is reinforced quite well. The only issue with this method is that if the part did receive any impact on the corner, the long strands are strong enough to rip along the full corner, causing more damage than the 6mm strand would have. For our final sample, we are using 200g plain weave fiberglass tape. This is stronger than the tissue. We'll then apply the rest of our fiberglass laminate. Again, this comes out of the mould looking perfect and will probably last quite a while before you possibly see any problems occurring. One problem you can have with this method is that the polyester resin doesn't tend to create a good mechanical bond between the gel coat and the fine woven cloth, and this can cause the gel coat to eventually peel when weathered, especially if moisture finds its way into the laminate from a cut edge or damage. And this is because the long continuous strands will act like a wick and draw moisture through the laminate. This will eventually promote blistering of the gel coat through osmosis, a lot quicker than a standard fiberglass laminate. Every fiberglass laminator will find the method that works best for them, and opinions on what we recommend may vary depending on the technique the laminator has been originally taught or has been used to over the years. However, in our opinion, from our experience in the GRP moulding industry, we'd advise following the first demonstrated method of applying loose 6mm chopped strands, followed by a good consolidation using a paddle roller and a disc roller for the corners. If you do have issues with the odd blister or damage, you can carry out a simple gel coat repair by following the steps in our How to Repair Gel Coat Damage video, which can be found here. We hope that this video has been informative and helps you tackle this issue, which is a common problem when moulding with fiberglass for the first time. Thanks again for watching. As usual, all materials shown can be purchased at our website at ecfiberglasssupplies.co.uk or just search for East Coast Fiberglass.